Why are we living in this universe? What are we here for? Is there any purpose? What's the point? What's the meaning behind it all? We are creatures that need meaning. But the meaning has not been set for us before we are born. So what are we gonna do? Where is the guideline? Well, there is no guideline. So what are we supposed to do? Well, we got to create our own meaning ourselves. This requires a person have sure and wholehearted to immerse themselves into the stream of life and create meaning. The Existential Psychotherapy book suggests that there are two types of meaning in life. One is cosmic meaning and the other one is secular personal meaning. First, let's discuss the cosmic meaning. Imagine the whole universe as a single gigantic organism. This organism is trying to evolve and improve. It's like a system, and all parts of this system tries to enhance the system and the organism, and all parts try to make the system or the organism the best it can be. So the system is the whole living, the whole world, and each of us are each of the elements that has a big impact on the improvement of the system. Or you can imagine a mountain. Imagine a gigantic and enormous mountain, and we are all creatures trying to climb up that mountain. And when we die, each of us will be at different levels of that mountain. But because we keep on moving upward to that summit, the system gets closer and closer to the summit. If all of us don't climb up towards the summit, nobody may reach the highest level. So we all must try, and that effort is impactful and it has meaning. This is cosmic meaning. But for some people, myself included, it's not enough. You got to have something more to be kind of persuaded to keep on living on this planet. It's not enough. It's too big for you. You want something more tangible. That leads us to secular personal meanings. Let's talk about the first one, altruism. Leaving the world a better place to live in, serving others, participation in charity. These activities are right and good and have provided life meaning for many humans. One of Dr. Yalom's patients is a vigorous man who gets cancer. He dies 2 years after he gets cancer. In those 2 years, he gives his life meaning by being of service for younger people. How? Being disabled, he goes to different high schools on wheelchair and talks about the value of life, the value of being healthy, and the value of being able to do stuff. And he warns them about the destroying effect of drugs and alcohol and how they can ruin your life. He reminds those teenagers not to take life for granted. Imagine being a teenager and listening to this man. Each of us is like a domino. We all influence the other person. And I like to think of it as light. We have light within ourselves and we sparkle and we can give light to other people too. That light can be anything, any help, any service, or being useful for another person. For example, when you make someone happier or less sorrowful, or when you make the life of another person easier, when you brighten someone's day, when you brighten someone's life, when you brighten someone's soul. When you do these kind of stuff, that other person has more light. So they have more light to give to other people. And overall, that can enhance your life and others' lives too. The effect of even just one light can expand. A doctor who gives light to his or her patient causes that patient to give more light to other people too. I've had my share of dark days like other people, and I remember the people who showed up for me when the load was too heavy and gave me light in my darkest days. And now that I have gained that light, I try to spread that light. And even receiving that light can be meaningful. I think when it's not part of the book actually, but it's my own experience. Even when I see another person trying to give me light, I can see that someone cares. That gives my life meaning. That was when you're on the receiving end. But when you are on the giving end, that's so impactful in terms of having meaning in your life. This YouTube is such a hard challenge for me, and it's been a few months that I have this channel, and there are some days that are very memorable. I remember one night I saw a comment on my previous video. Someone commented that I needed this. That video was about loneliness and existential isolation. It was about the third part of this Existential Psychotherapy book, and that comment really made me so happy, and I thought, well, I did something. Someone said I needed this. Maybe I exaggerated it on my mind too much, I don't know, but when I understood that, well, I had an impact, it was such a fulfilling feeling, and it gave my life meaning. And so for me, one of the secular personal meanings that actually works is this altruism thing. The other secular personal meaning is creativity. At the age of 32, Beethoven felt depressed and he was deaf. He said that the only thing that kept him from suicide was art. He wrote, "Little kept me back from putting an end to my life. Art alone held me back. Alice, it seems to be impossible for me to leave the world before I have done all that I feel inclined to do. And thus I drag on this miserable life." Well, I'm no Beethoven, but I sometimes paint. I do some watercolor paintings, and it's not something professional or anything, but the act of creating something makes living worth it. I am painting for the sake of painting, and it makes me feel connected to life. But creativity is not exclusively about music or painting. You can be a manager in a company and be creative about your job. Dr. Yalom notes in his book, a creative approach to teaching, to cooking, to play, to study, to bookkeeping, to gardening adds something valuable to life. And also in terms of being creative at your job, whatever your job is, I recommend the Icarus Deception book to you, and I talked about that book in the best nonfiction books of 2022. I put the link of that video in the description box below. Okay, now that we talked about some deep and philosophical stuff like giving light to other people's life and, be all creative and all that, and we also talked about two great artists, Beethoven and me, all those aside, there's another secular personal meaning that is hedonistic solutions. Life is not supposed to be about all those big things to have meaning. Dancing. I think just dancing makes life worth living. I don't know, maybe because I love dancing so much, but singing, dancing, just enjoying the day, just enjoying your meal, all these things are valid. I think the problem is we enjoy those things, but we think it's shallow to enjoy them, and it's shallow to love life because of these small, shallow things. But Dr. Yalom believes that actually these types of things are one of the big reasons that you love life, and it does give meaning to our lives. A few months ago, I watched a video of a concert. It was a symphony or something, and it was so beautiful that I cried, and it makes me feel so satisfied and fulfilled just listening to that music and symphony. And that's it. I think that can be life. You don't have to be always this big philosopher who is all about light and creativity. Enjoy those pleasures even if they sound shallow. I think they are not. They are necessary parts of life. As the book states, the purpose of life is, in this view, simply to live fully, to retain one's sense of astonishment at the miracle of life, to plunge oneself into the natural rhythm of life, to search for pleasure in the deepest possible sense. This concept of hedonistic solutions is not exclusively about immediate pleasures and immediate enjoyments. Some activities actually need endeavor, and they need you to delay and postpone gratification, because in the end they are gonna give you so much pleasure and enjoyment. For example, you love medicine, you put years and years of studying because in the end you love being a doctor. Okay, now the other one. The other one is kind of deep too, like the first two ones, and it is self-actualization. There's potential in all of us, And there's the urge to fulfill that potential in all of us. We want to move toward growth, and that is self-actualization. So with the self-actualization thing, the answer for what are you living for is I live to fulfill my potentials. The purpose of an oak fruit is to be an oak tree, and the purpose of a human infant is to be a self-actualized person. Now the question is, does self-actualization stop there? So you grow, you become better and better, you improve yourself, you improve your life, you became that oak tree, that's it? No. There is another step, an upper level, and that is self-transcendence. In terms of inventing meaning, we begin with ourselves and we begin for ourselves, but we don't end with ourselves. Self-transcendence is about rising above yourself and relating to what is greater than yourself. You realize that you're one part of a greater whole and you act according to that. Self-actualization is you try to learn things to grow, and self-transcendence is giving value to other people based on what you've learned on the journey of self-actualization. It's like the more experienced ones are passing on the torch to the inexperienced ones and help those younger ones to live a better life. Suppose you're a football player, you try to be one of the best players, you're moving towards self-actualization here. You're gaining experience, you're going to be a great oak tree. Then you get older, you retire, you're not a football player anymore, but now you have so much experience. You have so much to share with younger football players and learn things faster because you tell them about your challenges and your adventures and all that, and they can learn better and faster. So you become a club manager. Now the thing that gives your life meaning here is self-transcendence. When you're the club manager, you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about the team, you're thinking about all those young football players trying to be better. You're kind of giving love to other people because that's what you want to do. That's like the Be Love that I talked about in the previous video that was about existential isolation, which was the third part of this existential psychotherapy book. Now the question is, do we have to just choose one of them and stick to them and get on with it? No, you don't have to be self-actualized completely, not self-transcendence at all, or never hedonistic, or always just hedonistic. So you don't have to decide that, well, I want to choose self-actualization for this whole year or for this whole month. No, my advice is to choose based on a day-to-day basis. I mean, sometimes life is too hard, too freaking hard, that just moving forward for a few hours and getting through just one day is a big success. See what you have in your control and based on that, create that meaning for yourself. Sometimes I try to receive light and that helps me keep on standing up. Sometimes I'm okay and I am okay enough to give life to other people and that gives me meaning. Sometimes I want to grow and make myself better and I'm on the self-actualization part of the spectrum, and sometimes I try to give advice to other people and then I'm more on the self-transcendence part of the spectrum. And sometimes I'm too tired and I'm too challenged that I just focus on making myself feel better. Maybe I go to do some hedonistic stuff. I just try to watch a movie and that's it. Just watching a movie and enjoying that movie, worth it. Just talking to a friend, worth it. Just dancing, worth it. Just listening to a music that I enjoy, worth it. All of them make life worth it. It doesn't have to be philosophical and deep all the time. You don't have to know what is the meaning of your life until the day you die today. You don't need to know everything about the end of the road today. You just got to know how to put just one step further, and when you do that, you can just put it one more step and one more, and that's okay. Just today is enough. That's it. That's the fourth video about this great book, one of my favorite books of all time. 5 stars out of 5. These 4 videos are not enough. Please read the book itself. That's it. Thank you for watching and bye.